A normal day on the water can turn into a fight for survival in seconds. From a family boat ride that ends with a giant shark slamming into the hull to a spearfisher knocked into open sea as blood spreads through the water, the ocean reveals how quickly calm can collapse into terror. Watch until the end to see how these encounters with sharks turned into pure terror. July 9, 2024 opened with mild sun and flat blue water several miles off a rocky Atlantic shoreline. Mark Hollis guided a small family boat across the gentle surface, enjoying a rare break from long work weeks. At 42, he worked as a mechanical technician in a coastal town and spent years learning the basics of boating safety. Friends viewed him as steady under pressure, someone who checked equipment twice before every trip. He valued quiet time at sea because it helped him clear his mind. Elaine Hollis, 39, worked as a school counselor. She believed outdoor trips helped her family stay close. She planned most weekend outings and kept supplies organized in labeled bags. She swam often in pools but had little experience in deep ocean water. Still, she trusted her husband's skill and saw this ride as a peaceful family moment. Their son, Caleb Hollis, 15, loved science and marine life documentaries. He often asked questions about tides, currents, and sea animals. He wore a life vest and stayed near the center console, watching the horizon with interest. This short journey had felt safe from the start, with no strong wind and slow rolling swells. By mid-afternoon, the boat drifted near a sharp offshore drop where the seabed fell away into darker water. Mark reduced speed and shut off the motor so they could relax and float. The hull rocked lightly as seabirds crossed overhead. Nothing around them suggested danger. The ocean looked wide and calm, with only soft movement across the surface. Without warning, a huge shadow rose from below. A massive great white struck upward beneath the stern. The impact shook the entire vessel. The jolt threw everyone off balance. Gear slid across the deck. Caleb grabbed a rail to steady himself. Mark turned toward the back just as the shark circled once in a tight arc. Moments later, it rammed again. The second hit sounded like a hard crash. Fiberglass split along the rear corner. A metal swim ladder snapped free and fell into the water. Elaine lost her footing on the wet deck. She slipped sideways and fell over the edge into the sea. The splash marked a turning point. Before anyone could react, the enormous predator surged up from below her. Its jaws closed on her leg. Water churned white as it pulled her downward. Mark moved instantly. He dove in, reaching for her arm as the animal released. For a brief second, Elaine surfaced, but the shark turned back in a fast curve beneath them. The surface rippled again as the dark shape returned. The huge predator came back with sudden force from below the surface. Its body twisted with power as it drove forward. Its teeth hit Mark across the shoulder, tearing through skin and muscle. Pain spread fast, but he did not let go of Elaine. Blood spread through the water in dark streams. The animal moved past them, then turned again in a slow curve under the boat. Caleb stood frozen for a moment on the deck, then acted. He grabbed a life ring from a hook near the console and threw it toward his parents. The float landed beside them, bouncing in the small waves. The shark snapped once more near the side of the boat, brushing the damaged hull as it passed. The sound of contact vibrated through the frame. Mark wrapped one arm around the float while holding Elaine with his other arm. She was weak and losing strength fast. Her injured leg trailed behind her, leaving a cloud that drifted outward. Mark kicked hard despite his wounded shoulder. Each movement took effort, but he pushed toward the stern where the broken ladder had hung before. Caleb lay flat on the deck and reached down. He grabbed his father's shirt with both hands and pulled with all his strength. Mark lifted Elaine first, pushing her upward until Caleb could grab her arms. Together, they dragged her over the side. Mark followed, using the float for support as he climbed aboard. Both adults collapsed on the deck, bleeding heavily. The shark circled once more near the rear of the boat. Its tall dorsal fin cut through the water in a slow line. After a few seconds, it turned away and slipped into deeper blue beyond the drop. The sea surface settled again, leaving only broken gear and red-stained foam near the stern. Caleb moved quickly. He pressed towels from a storage box against Elaine's wound and then against Mark's shoulder. His hands shook, but he kept pressure on both injuries. Mark forced himself to stay awake, guiding his son with simple instructions about first aid and the radio. Caleb sent a distress call, giving their position as best he could. Rescue crews arrived after a tense wait that felt long to the family. Medics boarded and began advanced treatment right away. They stabilized both adults and transported them to shore. Doctors later worked for hours to repair the damage. Elaine survived but lost part of her leg. Mark recovered after surgery on his shoulder, though strength never fully returned. The boat showed deep cracks and broken fittings when inspected. Marine experts explained that large sharks sometimes investigate boats near steep underwater edges where prey gathers. Authorities reviewed safety advice for small vessels in such zones. The Hollis family faced a long recovery. Fear stayed with them, yet they remained grateful to be alive. Caleb received praise for his quick response, which helped save both parents. On October 3, 2021, a small transport helicopter flew low over the Gulf of Mexico under clear skies and mild wind. Aaron Pike, a 38-year-old offshore equipment technician from Mobile, Alabama, sat in the rear seat wearing a work jumpsuit and a secured life vest. He had spent more than 15 years maintaining energy platforms in open water. Co-workers respected his focus, steady hands, and calm thinking during emergencies. He had a wife and a young son at home, and he took these flights often as part of his job rotation. Though used to ocean travel, he never treated it lightly and always followed safety rules closely. That morning, Aaron traveled with one other passenger, Luis Moreno, a logistics supervisor from Corpus Christi, Texas. Luis was 41 and had worked supply operations for years, arranging transport of tools and parts between shore and offshore sites. He preferred planning over risk and carried a small waterproof pouch with emergency items during every flight. The pilot had completed many similar routes and checked weather reports before departure. Conditions seemed normal and the aircraft moved steadily above wide, dark water with no land in sight. Halfway through the journey, a sharp vibration passed through the cabin. The pilot noticed warning signals on the panel and reduced speed. A mechanical problem developed quickly, leaving little time for correction. The aircraft descended toward open water for a controlled ditching. The pilot guided it down as smoothly as possible, and the craft struck the surface hard, but upright. Water rushed in as rotor blades slowed. Aaron unfastened his belt and helped Luis move out through a side exit. Fuel began spreading across the waves in a thin sheen. Both men grabbed floating debris that had broken loose during impact. The helicopter started to sink behind them. They kicked to keep balance as the swells lifted and dropped the wreckage pieces. The smell of fuel mixed with salt air. Aaron tried to keep his chest above water, breathing hard, eyes scanning the open space around them. Luis held onto a torn panel, drifting a few yards away but still within sight. Below Aaron, a darker shape moved through the blue. It rose from depth with slow, smooth motion. An oceanic white-tip shark, known for roaming far offshore, came into view. Its long, white-tipped fins cut through the surface glare as it circled tightly beneath him. Aaron thrashed his legs to stay upright. The shark bumped him once, a heavy push against his side that turned him slightly. He tried to pull himself higher onto the debris, heart pounding, arms shaking. The water around him felt suddenly small and exposed, the vast gulf stretching in every direction as the predator closed another tight loop below. The predator shifted position beneath Aaron Pike and moved closer with steady purpose. Without pause, it lunged upward and clamped onto his forearm. The sudden strike pulled him off the broken piece he had gripped. Water splashed high as his body twisted. Pain shot through him while he tried to pull back, but the animal's force overpowered him. For a brief moment, it let go and his head rose above the surface. He gasped and struggled to paddle, eyes wide with fear. Luis Moreno, still holding another floating part a short distance away, saw everything unfold. He kicked toward Aaron but stayed too far to help. Before Aaron could regain any balance, the shark rushed again. This time its jaws closed across his midsection. The impact bent him forward as the animal shook its head. Foam and spray burst outward. Then the predator dragged him below, leaving only waves rolling over the spot. Luis watched helplessly as the sea churned violently. The motion lasted only seconds. Bubbles rose and then faded. The surface was smoothed, broken only by scattered wreckage and thin rainbow patches from spilled fuel. Luis gripped his support tightly, breathing fast, scanning every direction. The open gulf looked endless, with no land or boats nearby. He stayed still, hoping the predator would not target him next. For a short time, the shark continued to circle near the debris field. Its tall fin cut slow arcs before it finally turned and slipped into deeper water. Luis remained alone, shaken and exhausted. He kept his body balanced and avoided splashing. Minutes felt long as he drifted, eyes fixed on the horizon. Rescue crews reached the area soon after an emergency signal from the aircraft had alerted authorities. A response helicopter and boat arrived together. Teams found Luis clinging to debris, weak but alive. He was lifted out carefully and wrapped in dry coverings. Workers scanned the surrounding water. They saw only floating fragments, torn life gear, and a widening red stain spreading across the waves. Luis received medical checks for shock and minor scrapes. He gave a full account of what happened, describing the mechanical failure, the ditching, and the rapid attack. Officials documented the location and time. Specialists noted that oceanic white-tip sharks often investigate disturbances far offshore, especially where fuel or movement draws attention. Aaron Pike did not survive the encounter. Recovery teams searched the zone but located no remains. His family later held a memorial near the coast. Co-workers honored his years of skilled service and calm attitude under pressure. Safety reviews followed, leading to added emergency drills and equipment checks for offshore flights. The event left a deep mark on Luis. He continued working in logistics but avoided helicopter travel over open water when possible. He shared the experience during safety meetings to remind others about risks in remote seas. The incident showed how fast conditions can change and how wildlife behaves in its natural environment. On October 12, 2023, inside the Naval Harbor in Norfolk, Virginia, an evening readiness exercise took place as daylight faded and shadows covered the water. The base remained active with vessels, crew members, and instructors running safety operations designed to prepare teams for underwater emergencies. Petty Officer Aaron Cole served as one of the trained sailors assigned to the event. He had years of experience working around ships and small craft. His duties often involved hull checks, equipment inspections, and support for maritime protection tasks. He stayed calm under pressure and followed procedure closely, qualities that earned trust from supervisors. Aaron grew up near the Atlantic shoreline, where he developed a comfort around oceans and boats early in life. Swimming and diving became natural skills for him, later turning into professional training after joining the Navy. Physical fitness and discipline shaped his daily routine. He understood how quickly water conditions could change, especially in busy ports where currents, debris, and marine creatures could appear without warning. That knowledge never left his mind during assignments. The planned scenario involved locating a pretend structural opening beneath a patrol craft. This type of practice helped sailors learn how to react if a vessel suffered damage during real missions. Harbor water looked calm from above, but below the surface, visibility remained extremely poor. Sediment, oil traces, and constant movement from large ships created a dark environment where even strong lights struggled to cut through. Safety divers waited nearby as backup, ready to assist if any problem developed. Aaron slipped into the water with inspection gear and a handheld light. He moved along the metal side of the craft, using slow fin strokes while guiding himself with one hand across the hull. He searched carefully for the marked spot that represented the breach. His breathing stayed steady as he focused on the task, aware that sight remained limited. Suddenly, a powerful shape rose from the deep channel beneath him. A bull shark shot upward with force and struck his side. The impact knocked him off balance as jaws clamped deep into his upper leg. Pain exploded through him while the predator shook once and released. He rotated in the dark water, confused and trying to regain direction. Blood spread outward, clouding the area further. He pushed hard toward the ladder attached to the patrol craft, knowing it offered the fastest escape. The shark curved around again, teeth snapping at his fin and scraping along his lower leg. Fear mixed with survival instinct as he tightened his grip on the flashlight, preparing to fight back while the training exercise turned into a real emergency beneath the surface. He swung the waterproof light in a fast motion and hit the animal across the nose. The strike made the creature shift its path for a moment, creating a small chance to move. At the same time, rescue swimmers rushed in from different sides. They splashed hard, drove long metal rods against the vessel, and activated bright underwater flashes. The sudden noise and sharp bursts of light disturbed the hunter's approach pattern. It brushed against him one final time, then turned away and disappeared toward the deeper channel beyond the harbor structures. Strong hands grabbed his equipment and lifted him onto the deck. His injured limb showed severe destruction, with flesh torn and muscle heavily damaged. A large amount of blood covered the surface around him, yet he stayed awake and aware. Medical responders pressed firm bandages over the wound and secured a tight tourniquet above the injury to slow the loss of blood. Crew leaders signaled to stop the operation at once. The practice scenario ended without delay as red streaks drifted across the water behind the patrol craft. A fast transport moved him to a nearby military hospital. Surgeons worked for hours to repair arteries, remove debris, and stabilize crushed tissue. The attack caused deep trauma, requiring multiple procedures and long rehabilitation. Doctors later explained that quick support from the divers and rapid treatment prevented fatal bleeding. Without that immediate response, survival chances would have dropped sharply. Recovery demanded patience and strength. He spent months in physical therapy, learning to rebuild movement and endurance. Pain remained part of daily life for a long period, yet determination pushed him forward. Medical staff tracked nerve healing and muscle repair while adjusting therapy routines. Family members and fellow service personnel provided encouragement during the slow process. Command officials reviewed environmental conditions around the base. They noted that this species can travel into brackish ports, especially during warm seasons when food sources shift. Leaders updated safety measures, adding advanced marine monitoring and revised entry procedures before underwater drills. Extra lookout teams began scanning areas for wildlife signs before any future exercise. Training schedules also changed to reduce risk during low visibility periods. The event left a strong mark on everyone involved. It showed that even controlled military environments remain connected to natural ecosystems. Personnel gained greater awareness of marine hazards and the need for constant vigilance. Cole's experience became part of future safety briefings, helping others understand real dangers beneath harbor surfaces. He survived the incident and remained part of the naval community while adjusting to lasting physical changes. The encounter altered how crews prepared for similar tasks, emphasizing protection alongside readiness. Cole's ability to recount what occurred ensured valuable lessons were reached by others who worked in comparable conditions. August 14, 2017, brought heavy humidity and low clouds over an offshore oil platform in the Gulf of Mexico. Bright work lights glowed against the dark sea as night maintenance continued. Liam Porter, a 32-year-old rig technician from Houma, Louisiana, worked the late shift that week. He had spent almost 9 years in offshore operations and knew the structure well. Co-workers respected his steady focus and careful approach to safety steps. He had completed advanced mechanical training and often handled difficult repair tasks. At home, he supported his younger sister through college and sent money to help his parents maintain their small house near the bayou. That night, Liam assisted with routine servicing near the lower deck. Equipment checks had gone smoothly until a metal wrench slipped from a platform edge and dropped toward the water below. The tool landed near the shadow cast by the rig's tall beams. Losing gear overboard created hazards, so retrieving it quickly mattered. Liam clipped on a safety line and moved toward a vertical ladder that led down to the waterline access point. Several crew members remained above, monitoring tasks under strong floodlights that cut through the darkness. The sea below looked calm, with only small ripples touching the metal supports. Fish often gathered near rigs because lights attracted smaller prey. Liam descended slowly, boots gripping each rung. The smell of oil and salt mixed in the air. When he reached the final steps, he leaned outward, stretching an arm toward the floating wrench. His hand closed around the handle. At that instant, a large tiger shark rose from the black water without warning. The animal struck fast, its jaws clamped onto Liam's torso, and the force tore him away from the ladder. Water splashed hard against the beams. He surfaced immediately, thrashing and yelling as red spread across the surface. The crew above reacted at once, swinging portable lights downward. Bright beams revealed a wide, striped body circling below him. The shark released briefly, gliding in a tight arc beneath the structure. Liam tried to swim back toward the ladder, arms pushing weakly. The predator turned and attacked again, biting into his leg. The impact twisted his body and pulled him sideways under the rig. Metal supports surrounded him as he fought to stay above water. He resurfaced once more, reaching toward a vertical beam. His palm struck the cold steel, leaving a smear. Workers shouted warnings and rushed to lower emergency ladders from the deck above. The shark moved through the light again, closing the distance with smooth power. Liam struggled to hold his position, and blood loss slowed his movements. The dark shape approached his middle as waves slapped against the platform's legs. Crew members leaned over railings, trying to guide him toward the descending equipment, while the sea churned beneath the glaring lamps. The massive predator surged forward and seized Liam around the midsection with crushing force. Its jaws locked as its body twisted, and the motion dragged him beneath the crossbeams. Harsh lamps reflected off spreading red clouds that drifted through the water. Workers froze for a fraction of a moment, then moved fast with emergency actions. 2 crew members dropped additional ladders and threw life rings toward the last spot where he had been visible. Others rushed to shut down nearby rotating equipment to reduce vibration in the structure. A supervisor activated the distress alarm and signaled for medical readiness on the upper deck. Several men kept beams of light fixed on the disturbed area, hoping to spot him again. Seconds passed, but the sea below showed only ripples and fading color. A helmet surfaced first, turning slowly in the wash. A pair of protective gloves followed, bobbing near a steel column. One worker used a hooked pole to pull the items closer, though everyone understood what their presence meant. No further movement appeared beneath the platform. The animal had vanished into deeper darkness beyond the illuminated zone. Rescue protocol continued despite the grim outlook. A standby boat stationed near the rig moved into position to scan the surrounding water. The crew on that vessel watched carefully for any sign of the technician. Searchlights swept outward in wide arcs. Time stretched as hope weakened. After several minutes with no trace, supervisors shifted from immediate rescue to recovery planning, following standard offshore procedure for fatal incidents. Up on deck, shock settled over the maintenance team. Some workers sat down, breathing hard, while others stared silently at the ocean. A medic checked everyone for injuries or stress symptoms. One man had scraped his hands rushing to deploy equipment, but no one else suffered harm. The platform manager began documenting details, noting time, conditions, and witness accounts. Those who had seen the attack described how fast the event unfolded and how little chance there had been to stop it. Marine specialists later explained that tiger sharks often patrol around offshore structures at night. Bright illumination attracts smaller creatures, which in turn draw larger hunters. The falling tool, splashing entry, and human motion near the surface likely triggered the strike. Such animals rely on sudden bursts of speed and strong bites when investigating prey. The behavior matched patterns recorded in previous Gulf incidents. Authorities notified Liam Porter's family the next day through company representatives trained for crisis response. Support services reached out to relatives and coworkers, offering counseling and assistance. The company suspended non-essential waterline tasks after dark and reviewed safety guidelines. New rules required tools to be secured with lines at all times and barred ladder access to the sea during nighttime hours without protective measures. Weeks later, many employees still replayed the scene in their minds. The memory of floodlights on stained water stayed vivid. Some requested transfers to daytime shifts, while others left offshore work entirely. Managers installed additional barriers and detection systems to reduce risk from marine life. Training sessions emphasized hazard awareness and emergency coordination. Liam Porter had been known for diligence and teamwork. Friends remembered his reliability and quiet sense of humor. A memorial service took place in his hometown, where family, co-workers, and neighbors gathered to honor his life. His sister completed her studies with help from a company fund established in his name. The event became part of industry safety briefings across the region. It reminded crews that open ocean environments carry unpredictable danger, even during routine tasks. Witnesses who stood on that deck never forgot how quickly calm conditions turned deadly. On July 22, 2018, warm evening air settled over the Florida Keys as fading sunlight turned the sky orange and gray. Long concrete beams of a coastal bridge cast wide shadows across the slow-moving water below. Small fish gathered near the pillars where light met darkness. Lena Brooks, a 27-year-old fitness instructor from Tampa, had come to the area for a short summer trip with close friends. She enjoyed swimming in open water and often trained in lakes and calm coastal spots. People around her described her as active, confident, and careful during outdoor activities. Earlier that day, Lena and 3 friends had explored shallow beaches nearby. As the heat eased, they paddled out on boards toward the bridge, a place locals sometimes visited during calm weather. The current flowed gently between the supports and the surface looked smooth except for small ripples. Lena wore a mask and snorkel set. She planned only a short dip before heading back. While floating beside a board, she adjusted her gear. One of her goggles slipped from her hand and sank into the darker area beneath the bridge. The object dropped slowly, disappearing into the shadowed water between 2 columns. Lena told her friends she would grab it quickly. She took a deep breath and dove straight down, arms reaching forward. Below the surface, the light changed fast. The water under the bridge looked dim and green. Shapes seemed less clear. Lena saw the goggles resting near a patch of sand. She kicked gently, moved closer, and picked them up. Then she turned upward, pushing toward the surface. At that same moment, a large hammerhead shark moved through the deeper channel beyond the pillars. This species often traveled along coastal routes at dusk. The sudden motion of Lena's body rising from the darker zone drew its attention. From the side, her shape and quick movement resembled prey struggling near the surface. The shark surged forward with speed. Lena noticed a sudden mass rushing from her right. Before she could react, jaws closed over her shoulder. The force spun her sideways against the slow current. Pain shot through her upper body. Her mask shifted as bubbles rushed past her face. Instinct took over. She kicked hard with both legs, pushing against the animal's head and trying to pull free. For a brief second, the predator held on. Then it released its grip. Lena felt herself drifting upward again, arm heavy and burning. Beneath her, the shark circled once under the bridge shadow, its shape passing below like a moving shadow. She pushed toward the fading light above, knowing she had to reach the surface fast as the dark water churned around her. Her body rose fast toward open air, arms pulling while legs pushed with all remaining strength. Lena Brooks felt warmth spreading through the water around her as the injury continued to bleed. The surface broke above and she gasped as her head cleared the waves. One friend on a paddleboard reached toward her at once, eyes wide with shock. Another moved closer, using her hands to drag her onto the board. Her breathing came in short bursts. Blood flowed from her shoulder, coloring the sea behind them. Below, the hammerhead did not leave right away. It moved in a tight path under the bridge span, its wide head shape visible through the green water. As Lena tried to stay still, the animal came near again. It brushed against her fins with a quick nudge. The contact jolted her legs, but she kept her body flat on the board while her friends paddled hard away from the dark area. After that brief contact, the shark turned and swam toward deeper water beyond the channel. The group pushed toward a brighter open sea, creating distance from the pillars. One friend used a towel to press firmly over the wound. Another called emergency services using a waterproof phone case. Lena stayed conscious but trembled. Her skin looked pale. She held the board edge with her good arm while her friends spoke calmly, trying to keep her alert. The paddleboard moved steadily toward a nearby boat ramp. Within minutes, a small motorboat approached after seeing the commotion. The operator helped guide them closer to shore. Lena remained on the board while they transferred her carefully into the boat. Pressure stayed on the injury the whole time. Blood loss slowed as firm compression continued. She breathed fast, but answered simple questions with small nods. At the dock, paramedics waited with equipment ready. They placed her on a stretcher and checked her vital signs. The bite had left deep cuts and torn muscle across the shoulder area. Medics started oxygen and wrapped the injury with thick bandages. An ambulance transported her to a hospital in the Keys, where surgeons prepared for immediate care. Doctors cleaned the wound and repaired damaged tissue during a long operation. The shark had released quickly, which likely prevented worse harm. Still, recovery would take months. Lena survived but faced pain, stitches, and physical therapy ahead. Friends who witnessed the event later described how quickly it unfolded beneath the bridge's shadow and how little time passed between the dive and the strike. Wildlife officials explained that hammerheads travel coastal waters, especially near structures where fish gather. Low light can create confusion, leading the animal to react to fast movement. They reminded swimmers to avoid murky areas at dusk and to stay in groups near open visibility. For Lena, the incident changed how she viewed the ocean. She had always respected marine life, but now she carried scars and a memory of sudden danger in a familiar setting. Support from family and friends helped her through her healing. Though shaken, she remained grateful to be alive. The bridge returned to quiet evenings, currents moving as before, but those present never forgot the brief, violent moment beneath the fading light. In September 2020, near San Clemente Island, California, spearfisher Lucas Marin spent the morning alone on open ocean water, known for strong currents and deep drop-offs. He had grown up along the southern coast and learned early how to read waves, wind, and shifting tides. Years of diving had made him careful, patient, and confident in cold Pacific conditions. Friends described him as focused and calm, someone who checked his gear twice and respected marine life. He often used a small kayak during trips, keeping his catch secured on a line while staying close to the surface. Spearfishing had become more than a hobby for him. It was a skill built through time, training, and many safe outings. That day, the sea looked steady with low swell and clear sky. Water clarity allowed him to see several yards down, though the deep blue below faded quickly into shadow. After a successful dive, he floated beside his kayak while stringing a yellowtail he had just caught. A thin trail of blood drifted downward, spreading slowly through the calm water. He stayed alert, scanning the surface and listening for boat noise. But nothing unusual stood out. Without warning, a powerful shape surged upward from depth. The movement came fast and direct. A great white shark rose beneath the kayak and slammed into it with heavy force. The blow rocked the small craft and sent spray into the air. At the same moment, the shark snapped its jaws around the fish and the stringer line together. The pull jerked the kayak sideways. Balance broke instantly, and Lucas fell backward into the ocean. Cold water closed over him as he hit the surface. He kicked hard, trying to create distance. Before he could reach the kayak, the shark turned and came back. Its body struck him square in the chest, knocking air from his lungs and pushing him underwater for a moment. Panic pressed in, but he forced his legs to move. The animal snapped again, grazing his forearm and tearing through the glove that covered his hand. Reacting fast, he drove the spear shaft forward and struck the shark's snout. The contact caused a violent thrash. Water churned, bubbles and foam surrounding both. The shark released the line and the fish, but did not leave. It circled tightly, its dorsal fin cutting across the surface only a short distance away. The kayak drifted upside down nearby. Lucas reached for it, pulling himself halfway onto the overturned hull while the shark stayed close, moving with slow power just below the surface. His grip tightened along the slick surface of the overturned hull, while open water moved around him with a steady roll. The predator stayed close, tracing a tight path beneath him. A dark shape slid under the craft, close enough that he felt motion through the plastic shell. Every second felt stretched and heavy. He kept his legs high, trying not to give the animal another target. The fin cut across the top again, close enough to show size and weight. It made one last pass, body turning with smooth control, then shifted direction toward deeper water. The movement changed from tight circling to a steady glide away from the scene. The outline faded into darker blue until only the open sea remained. He did not relax yet. He held his position, breathing hard, waiting to see if it would return. Pain spread across his chest where the impact had struck earlier. Each breath felt shallow. His forearm burned where teeth had scraped skin and torn fabric. Blood mixed with seawater, but the cut looked shallow rather than deep. He focused on staying balanced on the floating kayak, keeping his center low to avoid slipping back in. The spear stayed clutched in his hand, ready if needed again. A small boat from a nearby fishing group had seen the struggle from a distance. The crew turned toward him at full speed. They reached his position within minutes. Hands pulled him aboard while others secured the drifting kayak with a rope. Once inside the vessel, he lay back, shaking from shock and cold. Someone pressed a clean cloth against his arm, while another checked his ribs and breathing pattern. Bruising showed across his upper body where the heavy strike had landed. No bones appeared broken, though movement caused strong discomfort. His glove hung in pieces, cut through along one side. The yellowtail and stringer were gone, taken during the first surge. The rescue team moved fast toward shore, keeping him warm and alert. Salt water dried across his face as the boat cut through waves. At the harbor, emergency workers waited. They lifted him onto a stretcher and moved him into an ambulance. Medical staff cleaned the wound, wrapped the arm, and monitored the heart rhythm. Scans later showed soft tissue damage along the chest wall and deep bruising, but no internal bleeding. Doctors explained that the impact alone could have caused serious harm, yet he had escaped with injuries expected to heal. Wildlife officers reviewed the event based on accounts from the fishing crew. The location near San Clemente Island sits within the natural range for large white sharks that follow prey routes along the coast. Spearfishing creates scent trails that can travel far, especially in clear water. The animal likely responded to the presence of blood and struggling fish, common triggers for investigation. Recovery took weeks. Movement remained limited while his ribs healed. Night rest came slowly at first, with memory of the strike returning in flashes. Over time, those thoughts softened. He met with local diving groups to share what he had learned about staying aware and acting quickly under pressure. He did not speak with drama. He described the event in simple terms, focusing on awareness, distance from the catch, and fast reaction. Gear changes followed. He began keeping fish farther from his body and moved to systems that allowed quick release of stringers. Training sessions added more focus on exit plans and surface awareness. The ocean had always demanded respect, but the experience sharpened that understanding. Water off the island returned to its usual rhythm. Boats passed, birds fed, and currents flowed the same as before. The large shark continued its path through the open sea, part of a long-existing system where predator and prey follow instinct without intent beyond survival. Scars on his arm faded to thin lines. Strength returned to his chest. He went back to the water later with more caution and deeper awareness. The event ended without loss of life, leaving marks that served as reminders rather than endings.